Hi guys, it's me again, Julia, and today I'm going to be talking to you about do's and don'ts for your IB exams. Exactly what to think about before your exam and during exam, and what especially not to think about during and after your exam. We're in total going to go through 6 do's with relation to your exams, and the first one is actually using your reading time. The reading time, if you don't know about it, is a 5-minute block of time that you get before your exam starts. During this reading time, you're allowed to go through the paper, see what questions have come up, and starting to kind of think of answers. However, you're not allowed to write anything during this time. I really recommend that you make use of this reading time, actually go through the paper, look at what questions you want to be answering, and maybe start formulating some arguments which you have in your head. Now, my second do is in relation to what to do as soon as reading time is over. And that is to actually, on your paper, write down any difficult concept which you've been really kind of struggling with or think you might not remember the entire exam. For me, that was always kind of math formulas. I used to kind of write them on my booklet as soon as I got into the exam room, just to kind of have them on my piece of paper so I could go back and look at them afterwards. But this could easily be just a date you're really worried about or just a specific argument. Number 3 is in terms of kind of looking at questions. I personally used to kind of go through questions, and if there was a question I didn't really understand, I would actually jump over it and then come back to it if I had enough time. You don't want to get stuck on one small question which might not be worth a lot of points and then not get through your entire exam. It's better to go through your exam once, skip some questions, and then have time to go back and maybe look at those at the end. Just as importantly, though, is that to make a plan of what you're going to do during your time. So if you're writing an essay-based question for your exam, for example in history, it's incredibly important that you plan out what you're actually going to say. Kind of write down your thesis, your key points, and your conclusion, just in a bullet point format so that you can refer to it throughout. Because what happens if you don't usually have a plan is that by kind of the second essay, towards like the third point there, you're kind of almost done, is that you actually forget what you want to say in your conclusion. So actually bullet point your key arguments ahead of time so that you can constantly refer to your plan and just keep on track with your question. Also, make sure you've taken care of your basic needs before you actually go into the exam. I.e., make sure you've actually had either breakfast or lunch. Don't think like, oh, I'll just do that later, and then kind of you end up in a situation where you get a blood sugar dip in your exams. Also, make sure that you do bring water into your exam room, as well as any other essentials you might need, like extra pens, kind of batteries for your calculator, anything that you might need to help you. Finally, my last exam do is actually to go home and reward yourself with a nap after you've had your exam. I personally took a nap after all my exams through IB, so I'd have my exam and then I'd come home and have a 1-hour nap. Why? Because that really helped me just kind of let go of the exam I'd just done and helped me refocus on the one that I usually have the next day. So I definitely really recommend that you guys go home, reward yourself with a nap, and just kind of take some chill time for yourself. Now, moving on to don'ts. My first don't actually sounds really simple, but it's really tricky to do. The first one is don't compare yourself with others. It can be really stressful in an exam setting when you start seeing all your friends and all your classmates start leaving from the exam room. But just keep in mind, you don't actually know why they're leaving ahead of time. Is it because they're done? Or is it because they actually don't have anything more to write and you have loads left? So just take your time, do it at your own pace. My second don't actually is in relation to panic studying. As you may have gathered from my nap tip, I didn't do that much cramming in terms of my IB exam. Why? Because panic kind of cramming actually makes me really stressed. So even if you are trying to study a little bit between your IB exams, don't try to overwhelm yourself with information between them. You'll be very tired from actually taking the exams yourself, so don't put too much pressure on yourself to go back and study in the evenings. Finally, and probably the most important tip, is the fact that you shouldn't panic when you walk into the exam room. Now, I know it's really scary walking into that exam room. You feel stressed. You feel like your entire future is hanging at the balance. But it's actually really important that you see the exam from the opposite angle. Actually, that you look at it and think, well, I've been preparing for this for 2 years. It's time to kind of focus and just write this paper. I have been working hard towards these goals, and my teachers have been helping me all along. And all you can really do from that angle is just do your best, and I know it'll be great. That's all for me today, guys. Good luck!